Welcome to the Real CP Show. I am your host, CP. Today's topic: this former Mexican governor was arrested for his involvement with so many others that was involved. And these particular dozen plus numbers of Mexican college students, etc., that were mysteriously disappeared. I'm like, when I also saw the story, I was like this. Oh, okay. This is over a dozen years ago. But see, unfortunately, certain types of Black Americans are told to get over the past. Actually, it's quite a number of Black Americans are told to get over the past. Now, this is over dozens of Mexican college students, etc., that were mysteriously disappeared on that part, never to be found again. And it's made sure not to be forgotten. But Black Americans are told to get over Black centuries pain that no one else can have went through and survived. That's how that goes, right? That's how that goes. See, Black Americans are told to look the other way on things like this as well. Look at this situation. I did a podcast on this. This is a particular Mexicano, wannabe white Hispanic version, or is a white Mexicano on that. But look at the hate she showed toward known as Hondurans. Out Hondurans, we don't want you here. So I guess there was no pan-Hispanic love. You see how that goes, right? Because you know that little silly outdatedness where Black Americans are told, the ones who don't know any better, you just call yourself Africans. What does an African look like with 50 plus countries? Do you understand the game they play on a freaking continent? These games are so easily seen through on that. And some people are just stuck on outdated Pan-Africanism, which is outdated on that situation. It had its day. But so many people within various parts of Africa ain't paying attention to Pan-Africanism. They have their own scenarios going on. But again, those are different topics in itself. Another podcast I did was this right here. It was only a couple of years ago. Where it was all over California, well, various parts of California, some other places. You had Habaneros, Mexicanos, and some other personnel that was causing havoc all over the place. Just turn over police cars, burn them down, burn over buildings. Oh, not Black Americans. Oh, you can't blame Black Americans for this one. Look at this right here. This is in California. Huh? You see how this goes, right? Oh, they don't want to talk about this. See, they keep thinking that when you talk about Mexicanos or Mexico, somebody wants applies to, they just come to America to do the job that Americans won't do. What are you freaking talking about? What are you talking about? See, people lie. Just like you have some scammy people in certain other places. I won't go into all that. There's some scammy type personnel that comes from certain parts across that border, and they will lie. They want to have both ways. They want to anyway. So the point I'm getting at to you is that this was terrible situation on that, but it's also interesting because again, see, this is why history is very important on that, very important. But let me go ahead and this is a very short show on that. See, everything's not about just drama, fake reality shows, etc. Those are the supremacist system that are brilliant. That's in poisoning people's mind and watching that stuff in a consistently way. And non-realityness. Do you understand? See, you grow your mind by not being a hair follicle on top of your head, just sitting there. You sit there and must be active in what you're watching and what you're reacting to. That's how your mind grows The system said, we can't have that many people doing that in America and some other places. So let's go ahead and read this particular topic. A decade after 43 students, overall, Mexicanos students, college students, vanished in Mexico. Ex-governor arrested, right? Accused of concealing evidence. Look at that. Straight wannabe white Mexicano. Do you understand that? They look at themselves as Anglo. You understand? And we're not going to get started of how numbers of Afro-Mexicanos are being treated. We're not going to talk about that part, right? Mexican authorities have detained the former governor of the southern state of Guerrero for his alleged involvement in the disappearance of 43 students in 2014, a case that has grown to become a symbol for impunity and state involvement and cartelness of violence. Federal prosecutors said Thursday that they arrested Angel Guerrero's former governor, on accusations of concealing evidence to determine the whereabouts of the students of the whatever that place is, Rural Teachers College. Few other details about the arrest were immediately available. The former governor of the party from which Mexico's ruling Moreno Party emerged is one of the highest profile arrests in the case to date since the detention of former federal attorney such and such and such, who is facing criminal charges of forced disappearance. You know, that means he went to college as well, right? Okay. Obstruction of justice and torture. Aguirre governed Guerrero from 2011 until 2014, 1 month after the students disappeared. The disappearance of the students after they commandeered several buses on their way to a protest shocked Mexico and the international community, and continues to fuel outrage in Mexico as the truth of the case continues to trickle out more than 10 years later. But again, Black Americans told you to get over the past. Something's very messed up, that they have messed up certain types of Black Americans to listen to that nonsense. After 3 administrators, dozens of arrests, and an investigation plagued by irregularities, you mean corruption, key questions remain unanswered. Authorities believe the college students were unalived, but only bone fragments from 3 of them have been found. God dang. And the motive for the attack remains unclear, although it is believed to have been linked to heroin trafficking in the area. Woo. Woo. My goodness. Do you see how that goes, right? But by the way, let me go ahead and play this also, which is kind of an interesting video, I think. It's a quick part of it on that. Let's a piece of it. Give me one moment here. Let me open this up right a second. I'm utilizing this under fair uses doctrine.
The recent history of Mexico is often viewed as one of narcotics, of civil wars, and endemic corruption. Unfortunately, Mexico's history during the Cold War was also heavily marked by these things. For 14 years, Mexico found itself fighting a brutal insurgency composed of left-wing and student movements, with few holds barred in how the fight was carried out. From the use of torture to people simply disappearing forever, actions carried out against the Mexican people were appalling, with little accountability even to the present day. I'm your host, David, and today we are going to look at the often overlooked conflict of Mexico's dirty war. This is the Cold War. The recent history of Mexico is often viewed as one of narcotics, of civil wars, and endemic. The recent appalling, with little accountability even to the present day. I'm your host. The recent history The recent history of Mexico is often viewed as one of narcotics, of civil wars. The Cold War was also...
I don't know what's going on with this, but I'm not going to keep doing this. I tell you this. And why is it not doing what I want to do? Hold on. Okay, hold on. Give me one moment here.
Mexico's dirty war, even to the present. We are going to look at the entry streaming app on Google. Entry streaming. The battles for control of the British Crown, the Norman Crown, socialism in once has membership gift cards. That means I already 4K. This will show you that Mexico is the backyard of the United States today. A quick look at any map will show you that Mexico is the backyard of the United States, a Cold War superpower, and as a result, they found themselves staring down the barrel of the Truman Doctrine. This fundamental US principle of the Cold War mandated that the United States was to, quote, protect democracies from authoritarian regimes, which in practice meant suppressing left-wing insurgencies across the world in order to stop the spread of communist influence. Initially, Mexico's right-wing oligarchy had little issue with this setup, and the US had little reason to worry about its southern neighbor. However, this arrangement would soon break down, and the US-Mexican alliance found itself fighting guerrillas on the very doorstep of the capitalist world. Seen as posing an existential threat to both Mexico and the United States, the war that emerged resulted in their perpetration of what amounted to crimes against humanity.
Well, of course. See, this thing about it. See, Black Americans are told they need to look at humanity. While so many different other places, they look at things in inhumanity type ways. And once applies to, they will cause wars and conflicts with the quickness, right? Crimes against humanity. And it's interesting how that bad old Hitler man, right? He's the boogeyman. You say, but where did he learn his hatredness, right? He learned it from certain section of personnel within certain parts of Panama's culture. Huh? He was paying attention to what they were doing to Black Americans. Do you understand on that situation? So when you have a singular type person that you can point the fingers, oh, that old bad style, look what he did to these people. But when you have a freaking system in various sections of America who calls Black pain, formal segregation laws, lynchings, breaking up Black American families left and right. Do you understand? The inhumanity that was caused toward Black Americans into this day in 2026. That's where you got people like, it shocks people's mentality. They'd be like, we can't believe that Black Americans been treated this bad. This is one that's being honest. You understand? Let's continue.
With effects that last to this day. So this story really begins in the late 1960s. By this time, Mexico had been under the control of the Partido Revolucionario Institucional, the Industrial Revolutionary Party, or PRI, for decades. The PRI operated a one-party state, controlling all state governments as well as the Senate. Despite Mexico technically having democratic institutions, the PRI controlled all of them, including the presidency. This, of course, was made possible by massive electoral fraud.
Oh, that can't be true, right? You know how they tell within certain parts of America, there's no such thing as electoral fraud or fraud. You know, you sit there and see this kind of things. Do you understand? It's a brilliance in the system, but it's a demons in that system. When you see right in front of you what they're doing in outright lying, and they literally are brilliant to have people act like they don't see what they're seeing. That's brilliant.
But their total control of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government opened the door to abuses of power and eventually to the persecution of the Mexican people.
I'm gonna stop right here. I won't go any further. So the thing about it is, I'm like this. Okay. And that part of history, right? Something about, again, this system is brilliant. It needs some fools that will tell the Black American Council of Africans, right, while they're fleeing, the ones applies to, and some other personnel got the nerve to try to tell Black Americans, y'all are talking about racism. We're not going to talk about the corruptibility that's going on in various parts of Africa and various parts of it. Even though there's no such thing as Africa in 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, there's no such thing as a single unified name called Africa because they were made up of kingdoms and their own tribes. But that's a whole different run game that this numbers of them still running right now toward Black Americans. 50 plus countries in Africa. Oh, a freaking continent. And many of them don't even call themselves Africans first. That's a whole different concept. But again, the game that's ran upon Black Americans every day is demonous. Black Americans, get over the past. Y'all talking about racism. Y'all talking about how you've been treated. Stop getting your hand out. Y'all got your hands out. Blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, you start talking about, you don't tell it to no other culture. They got their hands out, getting freebies and benefits, border break illegal immigrants. How know the immigration personnel got their hands out, just getting businesses free of charge, helping them out left and right, helping so many people out. You get the point. But Black Americans told to get over the past. Do you understand? And it can be frustrating, I know, for certain of the Black Americans that get pissed off, and some of them do suffer from the psychological dissident where they have to cope to shut that part down because it's so ridiculous. But running away from history does not change history. Actually, it lessens the value of history. So the point is that this is ridiculous because, again, when Black Americans are told, hey, you need to help out people. Look at those bad ICE people, what they doing to the immigrants. Look what they doing to the Mexicanos. Okay, what are you going to damn do for Black Americans? This is what they do. Uh-oh, hold on. Give me a second. I despise when this computer acts stupid. Why I despise that? It's almost like something in the background. They don't want you to, anyway, going all that. So this is what they do. You start asking, what are you going to do for Black Americans then? You want them to fight? Well, you know, they've been fighting for centuries of Black pain before many cultures, backgrounds, ethnicity, etc., alternative lifestyle category, mantras, before they even existed. What are they going to do for Black Americans? This is what many of them do. Exit station left. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.